Fox's college football insider Joel Klatt has spoken out on the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Ohio State fans are going to absolutely love what he had to say about the team, and we're here to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Columbus Football 365. If you're an Ohio State football fan, please hit that subscribe button. But getting into the news for tonight, Joel Klatt didn't mince words when ranking his top football teams after another wild week of college football. The Fox Sports analyst used Monday's episode of the Joel Klatt Show to make his stance clear, calling the Ohio State Buckeyes the clear best team in the country. Klatt's comments came after Ohio State's 34-10 win over Purdue, a game that extended the defending national champions' winning streak to 13 games. With another dominant performance on both sides of the football, Klatt pointed to the Buckeyes' physical edge and player talent as separating factors in his evaluation. So, this weekend, the Ohio State Buckeyes took over another victory, this time taking down the Purdue Boilermakers, sending them to 2-8, although they've had a better season than they were last year, but still, and some close losses, but still not playing as good football as they would like to play. The Ohio State Buckeyes were tasked with staying on task, being up for a football game that they were expected to be big favorites in, and they were big favorites in. Unfortunately for me, we're not able to cover the spread, but I'll take the win. The Ohio State Buckeyes move to 9-0, and Joel Klatt is calling them the clear best team in the country. Now, while the new rankings that came out on Sunday, the AP poll, suggests that they are the number one team, as Ohio State receives 55 first place votes. Right now, there are some people still talking about how Indiana, or even what I'm seeing is Texas A&M, becoming one of the favorites to take over the Ohio State Buckeyes. But as a lot of people are pointing out, the football games, the important stuff is played on the field. We're going to settle it on the field. It doesn't matter what an AP voter thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone in the media feels about this Ohio State team. When you are starting the year 9-0, we're going to go to the playoffs, and we're going to be able to make our presence known. And we're going to be able to prove, instead of just get votes for, we're going to be able to prove that we are indeed that number one team in the country. Now, just circling back one last time to the last game against Purdue, a little bit worrisome in that first quarter. Their defense kind of showed up a little bit in a way that made me go, oh boy, I hyped up their coach, and maybe his defensive prowess was for real. But then we got on track and rattled off 24 straight points in that second quarter, and we're able to finish that game with a big win over the Boilermakers. Just another standout performance for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and one that is Julian Sayin continuing to pace the pack in the Heisman voting, or it's not voting, I keep saying voting, but it's wrong. It's just betting odds. Currently, the voting will be done at the end of the season, but it's good to see that Vegas odds makers and voters are expecting Julian Sayin currently to win the Heisman Trophy. It would be extremely exciting to see an Ohio State Buckeye win the Heisman Trophy in a year that we are expecting, again, to see another Ohio State Buckeye go really high in the draft, as we're seeing Arvell Reese is moving up in everyone's mock drafts. I'm seeing him as the number one overall team. I'm also a Jets fan, and we were being mocked the first overall pick in a couple of drafts before these last two wins, and they had us taking Arvell Reese 101, and I'm like, you know what? He's an absolute beast. I don't know if I would take a linebacker first when we don't have a quarterback, but he is an absolute monster. Right now, Julian Sayin is number one in the Heisman favorite odds over Indiana's Fernando Mendoza, who had an extremely, extremely impressive walk-off drive versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. That catch by Omar Cooper, catch of the year, easily so far, if you ask me. But currently, Vegas's odds have the Heisman as pretty much a two-quarterback race between Julian Sayin and Fernando Mendoza, only being separated by 10 points of spread of voting. I don't even know how you'd actually word that sentence. Probably should not have started it, but Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, who is also getting a ton of NFL hype, ton of hype from the media. I see a lot of people calling him the number one passer in the SEC, but Julian Sayin right now, probably the number one passer in the country. And I know Jeremiah Smith and Carnell, Tate make that a whole lot easier, but hey, Julian Sayin didn't ask for that situation. He's just balling out now that he's in that situation. But Ty Simpson, a plus 500 is the number if you want to bet on him to be the Heisman winner. So we are expected to see the Heisman winner being a quarterback out of the Big Ten, whether it's going to be Julian Sayin or Fernando Mendoza. Then just finishing off the Heisman favorites right now. Marcel Reed out of A&M, the number 3 team in the country. Texas A&M also undefeated, just like those other 2 teams in Ohio State and in Indiana. Marcel Reed, an absolute monster. And then Diego Pavia, who I think everyone should be a Diego Pavia fan. He's not going to win the Heisman, but he is a pretty awesome to root for, pretty awesome to take a look at. But something that we do need to take a look at is what is coming up for the Ohio State Buckeyes over their next couple weeks. As we finish out our Big Ten schedule in the regular season, we all know about the way that it is going to finish. But first, we got to talk about this UCLA game coming up next weekend on Saturday. Going to be a night game at the Horseshoe versus the UCLA Bruins, who are currently on a 2-game losing streak after they started their season, or after they got hot in the middle of the season, highlighted by their win versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. UCLA fired their head coach after an 0-4 start and then ripped off a bunch of wins when their Big Ten play started. And I was getting a little bit worried about what Jerry Neuheisel, their new offensive play caller, was going to have planned for Ohio State, but it looks like they may have ran out of their bag of tricks. They're on a 2-game losing streak currently. They lost this weekend, and then they lost a couple weeks ago to Indiana, who really made an example out of that team. That, I keep saying it, that Big Ten championship game between Ohio State and Indiana should be absolutely insane. Cannot wait to watch the Ohio State Buckeyes get their shot at what, to me, is the other clear and obvious best team in the country. Texas A&M, they're really, really good, but, Indiana is just making example out of team after team after team after team. I know it was really close against Penn State, but just like what we were saying about Penn State versus Ohio State, they have a ton of talent, and it just depends on, do they want to get up for that game or not? Against Ohio State, they got up for that game. The first half, very close between Ohio State and Penn State, but then the second half, the talent and the depth of Ohio State showed out versus the Nittany Lions, which is why we were able to ride that game to a big win for us. But against Indiana, Penn State, they didn't let that happen. They fought really hard, and they showed that they are still an extremely talented team and why that team should not be taken lightly, but that's just going to strengthen the win for Ohio State. So all in all, that made Ohio State look better. The fact that Penn State was able to fight so hard against Indiana, who we know is an extremely, extremely good team. And it's going to be a team that is highly regarded by the College Football Playoff voting committee when that matters come this Tuesday night and coming in the final rankings when they're actually going to matter for seeding wise. But after this weekend against UCLA, going to be a matchup with Rutgers, which I'm sure at the moment when we have UCLA this weekend, Michigan in 2 weekends, no one's thinking about this Rutgers game, so I won't waste any time talking about it, but everyone has that final game circled. The team up north is on a little bit of a winning streak against us, but that will be coming to an end this season. Ohio State got the talent this year. We have the coaching, not just head coaching with Ryan Day, but also with what is the best coordinator tandem in the entire country, with Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator and then Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. This should be the year where we are finally able to take out the Michigan Wolverines, but you never know how it's going to turn out. That's another game that, if you needed another reason to tune into it, which I'm sure every single person watching this video is going to make sure they're tuning in on 12 o'clock on November 29th for the game. But going to be a ranked matchup, should be a ton of fun. Bryce Underwood still doesn't have a ton of passing touchdowns, you have to imagine, versus the number 1 ranked defense in the country, points per game wise and yards per game wise, in the Ohio State Buckeyes. The true freshman quarterback will continue to struggle, but hey, cannot get too far ahead of ourselves. Focus on beating UCLA. Got a whole lot of film. It seems like they're starting to get figured out. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Let's make it a 3-game losing streak for the UCLA Bruins. Welcome to the Big Ten, guys. Maybe go back to the Pac-12. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, appreciate you taking the time to watch it. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Buckeyes.